Should we start with Rillington Pace? Luke, have you seen this?
Get it out the way.
I can't. I've seen.
Yes or no, Luke?
No.
Have you watched any of it? Have you watched
Yes.
the bits? How many bits?
Well, I did the first
this
half
is Rillington
an hour,
Place.
but,
How many
but
bits?
Not, half an hour, but not because I was bored, just because that's all I could manage to fit in at the time.
I think they've chosen a strange episode to start with, where nothing happens.
I think the structure, rather than a strange episode, I think the way that they've structured it is all. Yeah. So Tim Roth playing another character called Reg this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically about him. He was a famous serial killer, but instead of just doing this sort of story linearly, because it takes place over a number of years, in the 40s and 50s, it starts as ever. When I ever see a TV show where the start is the end, I think Luke will hate this.
Yeah, they did it on Dark Angel, which is basically the same show. They did it on that, and they did it on this.
So we already know that Tim Roth's Reg Christie is a killer. Nico Miralegro's character, Timothy Evans, gets framed for the crime and hanged for it. We focus on his wife, Ethel, played by Samantha Morton. And this episode, after the flash forward, flashback, whatever you want to call it, is basically about her and her experiences being married to Reg, who she seems a bit sort of put upon. He's always
she certainly lives in fear of him for the first half of that show.
Yeah,
for the first half of that episode.
He says he's going somewhere. She follows him, thinks he's having an affair.
This is just after he's been beaten up for what we don't know yet, but obviously we might do in a later episode.
Well, hopefully.
That was very clear as mud, that was.
No, but he comes home having been beaten up and goes straight out that night. So that's why she follows him, because it's so strange.
I mean, this story originally, well, not originally, because it's a real story, but was a film back in the 60s?
Yes, 10 Rillington Place, I think.
With Richard Attenborough playing Christie. And that obviously was done sort of the right way round. The writers, Tracy Malone and Ed Whitmore, have obviously tried to structure it differently, tried to sort of build up the tension so you sort of get an idea of what's going on, but you never see it on screen straight away. You get an idea of
you're kind of showing it by not showing it.
Although actually you do, because you've got that scene at the beginning.
Well, that's right, yeah, but you're guessing a lot. I don't mind the story they're trying to tell, but the mechanism made this episode so dull.
Dull, yeah, and I think that's the thing. It struggled to maintain my attention throughout the hour. I have to say, I thought in its favour, I thought Tim Roth was good when he was on screen, but obviously this was Samantha Morton's episode, and I do like her as an actress, but I think the character she's playing here, which is like the downtrodden wife, doesn't really suit her. I think she's better in sort of stronger roles, and again as well, I think the production values as well were quite high. I thought the setting was very well done, and the sort of creepiness that they tried to build worked quite well. But it was just, as you said, quite dull.
Yeah, and I'm kind of half tempted to watch the next episode, which I assume is from our mate Nico's perspective a bit more. Based on the previews that I saw, but even then, I don't know. I'm not quite sure whether I want to dedicate another hour.
And I think that's why they put that scene in at the beginning, as Luke always says. It's the sort of stay with us. This is going to be a bit dull.
It's going to be a bit dull.
Hanging.
But this is, It is. It's like saying to the audience,
we will get to the killings. Don't worry.
Yeah, we will get there, and we're going to show you we'll get there. Also, I'm always a bit put off by 3-parters lately. I just think, can they do enough in 3 to invest it? But, I mean, Dark Angel was a very similar show, and that had the thing about that was that had 3 hours to tell a story, and it went from killing to meeting to killing to meeting
to child death.
To child death. I don't know what the right way of doing it, and we've got In Plain Sight starting on Wednesday, which is
I think the thing is that you're more likely to sort of get commission with 3 or 4 at this time of year when they
coming up to Christmas.
They need these sort of 2 or 3 parters, and I think if you go to BBC or ITV and say this is how many episodes I can squeeze it into, they're right, we can commission this. Whereas if you go with a sort of a 6 or an 8, unless you're a sort of, well-known, like a Jimmy McGovern or a Paul Abbott or someone like that, I don't know if they actively go out looking for sort of 3-part dramas to fill
I'd love
these,
to know that sort of question. I don't
to fill these Christmas weeks, because obviously like with the ITV...
if only you'd met the commissioner of BBC One at some point.
Well, we've not said... But the thing is, I'd look, because like Gary said, you need fillers, but I don't think they don't commission it and go, well, that would be a good filler.
I don't mean filler as in rubbish. I mean filler as in when they plot out their year... Yeah. Not everybody, as we discussed in our Missing podcast, wants to watch 6 to 8 episodes of a show that's going to be quite thought-provoking and challenging. Some people do want stuff that is there and more pulpish.
That's Rillington Pace.
Oh, so Matt, will you watch Ep 2 for Nico and Jodie or not?
I don't think so.
No, I've taken it off my series link. I don't think I will.